All right, time to begin. Yo, all right. I'm Sasha. I will be hosting the session today, and we're going to be going over the intro to Java and stuff for people who didn't do Python. If you did Python and you're here, awesome. There will be some stuff that isn't in the Python section that is still relevant. We're just going to assume you know nothing about any programming language at all, and it's all new to you. Is it on audio? Yeah, it is. Okay, perfect. I'm assuming you guys can hear what I'm saying. Please sound off in the chat if that is not the case. Otherwise, we will shortly begin with the installations for all of the software. So let's just get that going right about now. And of course, we'll start on Windows. So let's do that. Still on the Mac. Yeah. No, I don't want the slideshow. I want the Windows. Perfect. All right, sorry, just getting the new setup sorted out. First thing we're going to do on Windows, and I'm going to be really quick about the setup because I know most of you have done it. This is just in case anybody has questions regarding the setup. If you do, you're welcome to ask. How do we do it? Well, we're in COMP250 right now. We go in here, and we're going to download our various stuff for Windows. Is it in content? I think it was, right? Yeah, where is it? Here, Windows. On Windows, we just click the links. So I'm just going to download everything that we have to download, basically. For ECSE, we should use Java 8. Should we use something other than Java 8 for this course? Well, you can use Java 8. Java 8 is acceptable for this course. However, there can be an issue with Java 8, and that is when you use the testers and stuff that we supply later on, because some of those have a graphical interface, and that will not work with Java 8. So I recommend downloading Java 15, as I'm doing here. And you don't actually need to do this if you're only going to use IntelliJ. You only need to download the JDK like this if you're using Eclipse. So there is the JDK 15 for Windows. I'm just going to download that. And of course, download Eclipse, unfortunately. Don't recommend using Eclipse. IntelliJ is going to give you a much easier time with everything. But I'll still give you guys a quick run around of both and a quick tour. Then I'll show you a quick start on Java. And I will show you guys a quick, as well, project organization cheat sheet kind of template, which will let you know how you should organize your projects. Then I'll let you know how you should be organizing your various projects and your various assignments such that you can stay organized throughout the semester and not have any issues with that. I'll also tell you kind of what to expect from assignments, and I'll tell you what you'll see coming up in the course in terms of quizzes as well. So it's just kind of a what to expect kind of thing. And here I'm just downloading and installing everything. Now, while we wait for these things to download and install on Windows, I can switch over to the Mac. Wait. Nice. Did somebody just use a voice to text thing? Interesting. Or did I do that? I don't know. Anyways, so here on a Mac now, where is my Mac? Here we go. Similarly on the COMP250 page, except not at all because I logged out, and now it's going to be very slow. Oh, come on, Mac. You really want to be... I'm streaming my Mac from a different computer, so... That's that. Just going to log in there. And similarly, we're just going to go to content, and we're going to view the install scripts. And let's just check on the Windows machine as well. Oh, on the Mac right now. So yeah, you guys can see the Mac here. Here we just do a similar thing. We just go tutorial, software installations, and we just grab the Mac OS one. Indeed, we can just enter everything. I already have the software installed, but we'll show you guys how we paste in the terminal. So this is, no, it is recorded. I'm recording not on Zoom. I'm recording on OBS. So you'll see a recording posted later, but it's not being recorded through Zoom. That's where the confusion might be coming from in that regard. But it is indeed being recorded. I'm just using a bit of a different setup than usual, as you might be able to tell. So here I'm just going to, again, take the code, copy, paste it. Now, some people have been running into issues with this, where they've been seeing a problem where it says that it doesn't want to download because it has no access. So let's see, mine probably won't do that. You know why? Because I didn't paste it properly. We don't want this 200 thing at the start. We just want it to be bin bash -c, whichever, right? So we're just going to, bin bash -c, put my password in, and it's going to install. For me, it already installed, but now it's just going to update to the latest version, so that'll go. Now, if you guys do get the error message Do we need to install Java 15 on a Mac or only Windows? On a Mac, you install it using these commands. So you don't need to actually go to any page, and I'll show that.
شلا这个是上 webcam holy shit 你看上 and Canon 跟 camera 跟 webcam.
Yeah. Whoever is yelling about the webcam, I appreciate it, but you might not want to keep
Bro,
that,
they unmuted,
in the
bro.
recording, no?
My bad.
There we go. Glad you appreciate the webcam. It is flashing a little bit there. That's because my HDMI cable is bad. But here it's just going to download Homebrew. And we're going to go with that. And then once that downloads, so let's check on Windows right now. And just the same install process. Here we've got our thing installing. We've got it done. JDK is installed. Perfect. And now I don't want Microsoft Edge. Okay, and now IntelliJ IDEA and Eclipse are installed. So again, if you're installing IDEA, you don't need to install the JDK separately. IntelliJ IDEA comes with one. The JDK download is only for Eclipse users. So we'll just click yes on the IntelliJ, yes on the Eclipse, and click through all the nexts. We know how this goes. Just click next on everything. And then on Eclipse. Now I'm going to go back to the Mac. Sorry, I'm switching between Windows and Mac right now so frequently. I'm just trying to save some time by doing them at the same time. Here, it's still doing it very, very slow. Probably because I'm streaming the display at the same time. And on Windows, we are going. IntelliJ is going as well. And in the meantime, while these things download, I'll go through and explain some of the project organization stuff some people are having questions about. So here, I'll explain some of the basic terminology that we have with projects and with stuff, and how you guys can organize your work. And we'll see a demonstration of this later on in the IDE. So in COMP250, we're given assignments which have these sort of templates. In fact, if I switch you guys over to the Windows, I can show you exactly what one of these templates looks like. If we go over here to the desktop, I can show you one from a year before. We get a template zip folder like this with the assignment, which we'll open one day. And in this assignment 1 template folder, we've got assignment 1 PDF and a Java. Well, here it's very minimal. But you usually get some .java files which come with your assignment, which you'll be editing, and then you usually have an assignment PDF which contains your instruction manual. So using the instructions and the Java files, you modify the Java files to make them contain what you want them to contain. And that's the general format of the assignment. Now if we look at the image slideshow, we can see that we've got several folders that we're dealing with. Well, we're dealing with your working folder. Can you use the same setup as ECSE 202? You can, but you're not using ACM, and I don't recommend you stay with Eclipse. Eclipse has a lot of difficult things that are much easier to do in IntelliJ. So you can use the same setup as ECSE 202, but my recommended setup is IntelliJ IDEA and Java 15. So going through it, we have a working folder. This is either your Eclipse projects or your IDEA projects folder, where you keep all of the various stuff from your IDE. Then you have a project folder, which is for each project. So for every assignment, every different project that you're working on, you have this folder which contains your modules, your code, everything. Usually, you want your assignment to each have its own project, and we'll demonstrate that once the IDEs install. Let's see which platform installs it first, Mac or Windows. I might just leave the Mac running for a little bit and come back to it later. And these will be uploaded to my courses, yes. So this is actually not the right topic. This is project organization. Sorry, I'm putting these at the top so that people can skim through the timeline in the recording and see at the top exactly what the topic is. So here we can see that the project is organized like that. You have one project for every assignment you're working on. The reason for this is that in your projects, your project will actually see code from other projects if it's in a different one, if that makes sense. So let's say you're working on assignment 2 and you have some code from assignment 1. You don't want something from assignment 1 being seen by assignment 2 and then assuming that you can use it, because well, you can't use it in your submission. So if you submit that and you're using part of assignment 1 to solve assignment 2, then that wouldn't be valid and you wouldn't get the grades. So for that reason, we like to keep assignments in their own separate projects, just keep them isolated. Each assignment is its own contained unit, right? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody, right? So a project per assignment, a project for your exercises. Modules, packages, .java files, classes, methods, fields, and local variables are here on the slide. I won't go into them right now because we can't see the code, and that's just not as fun. But I will go to the next slide here and show you, this is a demonstration of how it kind of should look visually. You have your project folder, which contains everything, all of your Java code, everything to do with your project. Those go in your project folder. And your project folder is also where some people wanted to make like a COMP250 folder. That would be a project folder, but I don't recommend it because your IDE might get freaked out, either Eclipse or IntelliJ. They can get freaked out if you don't use the default one. So for this, you could use just a generic project folder. Usually the default one is ideal. Then inside your project folder, you have your various projects. Like here, I've got assignment 1, assignment 2, weekly content hackathon app, just to demonstrate that you can have your various assignments in here. I'll just turn off my overlay here so you can see all the text. You got your various assignments here. You've got, let's say, assignment 1, you're making a game about bees. Then you can have your package in here, which contains your bee game files. And then hopefully the rest of that is kind of self-explanatory. This visual one should give you a pretty good idea of how to organize your files. And then here, I've just got a text version of that same cheat sheet for you, where you just have a quick one-sentence explanation of what every various kind of thing does and how it all works. I'll give you guys a second to take a look at that, screenshot it if you like. It will be up on my courses. And in the meantime, I shall check on my Mac and see if it's done doing its crap. The Mac is still loading on downloading Homebrew. It's got a really slow connection because I'm streaming the display over internet right now. So that one might take a second. I'll just continue the demo on Windows while we wait for the Mac to load. All right, so has everybody had time to take a look at the slide? And if you have any questions about project organization, now is the time to ask. So I'll open the floor to you guys. Anything you're asking, anything you're not sure of on project organization, all on you. Can we have more than one package in a project? You can have more than one package in a project. You can have unlimited packages in your projects. That's all up to you. The point of a package is that a package cannot... a package like a namespace in C. Outside of a package, you cannot access package private fields. And none of that makes sense to you because it's a little bit more advanced than our very beginner intro to Java style thing. But for now, you can think about it as in a package could define one part of your application. So for example, let's say you have Minecraft. You would have a package for your graphics, like for the graphics part, displaying everything. You would have a package for the world generation. You'd have all these various packages for different parts of your app. Does the interactive UI files go into a project or into a package? Well, that, again, depends on what you're doing. So, for example, let's say you want to make Minecraft. You would have your UI files in a package, let's say like the menu package. And then you'd also have in the same project like a game graphics package and a game logic package, stuff like that. Right? So that would be the sort of package structure. And you could do it however you like. You can have the entire thing in one package. You can have everything in separate packages. If you go into later courses like ECSE 223, you'll see Model View Controller is a design pattern, which involves multiple projects and multiple packages. And then, yeah, that's quite such. So that should address all the questions regarding packages. Now somebody's asking, when are the tutorials scheduled for the following weeks? That schedule hasn't been finalized, but it will be posted on my courses soon. I'm sorry I came in late. What exactly does IntelliJ IDEA do? IntelliJ IDEA is an IDE. It is the same thing as Eclipse. It's just a little bit more modern. So right now, the official one for the course is Eclipse because that's what we've been using for like 10 years. But gradually, we're trying to make the switch over for IntelliJ because it's more modern and it's easier to use and it's going to help you a lot. Yeah, is there an option to mute all participants in this thing? Should be. Let's check. Where did my Zoom controls even go? Mute all. Okay. Perfect. I've muted all of the participants, and that should help us with the audio. Sorry about that, guys. The recording, by the way, it will not contain that because it's being recorded from a separate app. So don't worry. The recording audio was crystal clear in the beginning. Hopefully that was still clear. Somebody asked what's the point of IntelliJ. IntelliJ is an IDE like Eclipse. You can use the one you prefer. I recommend IntelliJ. It's easier to use. Why do we need Homebrew on a Mac? We need Homebrew on a Mac to help us install the software. How so? Well, allow me to demonstrate. So now I can switch over to the Mac because it's done. And on the Mac, we have this. We've got our terminal and we've got Homebrew installed. So now all I need to do to install Java is type brew install Java. And now it'll load, but it'll just download Java for me. I don't even have to think about it on the Mac. The Mac makes it super easy for me. Look, it's just downloading OpenJDK by me typing brew install Java. Those Windows nerds, they're not getting that experience. So that's the point of the terminal commands in Mac. On Windows, we have to navigate to those URLs. We have to go to these websites to download the JDK. On a Mac, you just paste in brew install Java. And then if you want to install your IDE, you just type brew cask install IntelliJ IDEA or Eclipse. But I've already downloaded them. And I will show how to manage projects in IntelliJ and Eclipse shortly. I'm just saying this one already has the software downloaded, but if yours doesn't, you just type in brew install cask IntelliJ in Java. But you can see the Mac is a bit laggy right now on the screen share. So I'm going to be switching over to Windows now. And that's where we'll continue. From this point on, everything is the exact same between Mac and Windows. It's just the homebrew section was different. So now on Windows, we've downloaded IntelliJ. We can click continue, do everything as you prefer. That will set itself up. And on Eclipse, you just click Eclipse for Java and download that as well. And accept. And you have to download your JDK before you download Eclipse because it doesn't come with one. IntelliJ is a bit easier. It does everything for you. So those are your IDEs. And we'll just get those started right away. And now while those are starting, I can speak briefly about the theory of organization again. So,
sorry, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the class, is better to have one project, multiple package, or multiple projects for each lab and for each assignment?
Sure, I'll show you again what I recommend for the structure. So here I've got like this image which shows you what I would recommend as the ideal structure for your course. You have your project folder, which is either IDEA projects or Eclipse projects, depending on which one you want to use. And then in this IDEA projects folder or Eclipse folder, that's the project folder, you have your various assignments as projects. Now, why do you want to do this? There's a couple reasons. First of all, you don't want code being shared between assignments. The assignments are formatted so that you're very strictly only allowed to use the .java files we give you and modify them. You don't want to create your own. You don't want to bring in other stuff. You don't want to do imports. Might specify otherwise in the future, but right now that's kind of how it's set. So to do that, we're ideally making everything a separate project because that way it can't see what's going on in the other project. They're kind of isolated. They're in their own capsules and they don't see what's going on in the other ones. See? And that makes it a little bit easier for you guys to manage, a bit easier for you guys to use because you can't screw it up by accidentally having a solution from a different assignment pop up in your new assignment. Then for weekly exercises, I would recommend you keep one project for all your weekly exercises and put them all in separate packages. Because in weekly exercises, maybe sometimes you want to actually reuse something from an old exercise and you don't want to have to drag it around. So you can just reuse something from a previous weekly exercise and use it there. And while we're at it, quizzes is also very nice to use for quizzes to have in your weekly project folder. Because on the quizzes, you might have questions that are for coding. And those coding questions you might want to test in your IDE. That's what your weekly project would be great for because you probably already have some code that's similar there. So you just have to modify the code you already had and it shouldn't be too difficult to do. Yes, I'll show you guys how to do the packages and everything soon. And then for your own personal projects, you can create packages freely. And yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I realized there's two different types for IntelliJ. There's like community and like ultra something. Does it matter which one?
So community.
Like, do we have to buy the ultra one?
So McGill gives you access to the ultra one for free. You just have to sign in with your McGill ID, and there's like a link you can use. I put it in the guide for software installations. If you see on my courses, where is it? Here. There is a link here to get the ultimate version for free as a student. But in COMP250, we don't really use many of the ultimate features because they're more advanced. They're for like very advanced kind of projects and things you usually don't see in an intro course. So you'd be fine with the community version as well. But if you really want to flex and you want to get all the features, it is for free. You just have to create your like IntelliJ account and sign in with your McGill ID to get your free version.
Okay, thank you.
For sure. So now I've got Eclipse opening up, and I think I also had IntelliJ opening up on here, and I'll show you guys how to get started in Java, the very basics of a project, and I'll give you guys a tour of the IDE as well, which will be, essential to navigating everything for the course. So I'll just open both up, and we'll see have a race to see who wins. And I'll show you the basics in Eclipse, and I'll go into a little bit more depth in IntelliJ, because that one is a little bit more easy to use, and I would really recommend it for when you're starting out. It's going to help you a lot throughout your time here. You will be helped by most people with IntelliJ. You'll be helped by everybody with Eclipse. So if you have an Eclipse-related problem, you can come to any TA. If you have an IntelliJ-related problem, you can come to most of us. But like, there's probably going to be a few who have not seen IntelliJ before. So in that case, well, I will be able to help with IntelliJ. I think Julia should be able to as well. And in that case, that should be good to go. Now, if we go to the Eclipse workspace, if we want to create a project, because Eclipse opened first, I'll show you guys Eclipse first. Can you install both and they access the same files? Yes, you can access the same stuff with IntelliJ and Eclipse. In fact, you can open an Eclipse project. Yeah, you can use Visual Studio Code. That's all up to you. We don't really support it at all because Visual Studio Code doesn't have as many features as IntelliJ or as Eclipse for Java. It's more, it's kind of more a general text editor, less than an IDE. It's closer to text editor. You have to do more things manually in Visual Studio Code. So that's why we don't use it as our main thing, but you're welcome to use it if you'd like. If you use IntelliJ and Eclipse, can you use both programs to open the same files? You absolutely can, and we will show you. So, which one opened first? Eclipse opened first. Oh, sorry, I didn't switch over my view. Sloppy with this, haven't done it for a while, so I'll switch over to the Windows capture. That's where we have both. Eclipse opened first, but we've got Eclipse and IntelliJ open here. This is the screen you see when you first download Eclipse. Well, how do we create an application? Well, we click Create a New Java Project, and here there's a couple tricks to it. We have a project name, so I can put it as like Hello World. Our JDK, well, Java 15 is what I'm using here. We'll create separate projects for us in class, that's fine. Then next, we'll have to wait a little bit. We want to make sure that we do not have a module created, because that can screw us over in Eclipse. And there's an option for that at the beginning. So again, we do not want modules. So you see here, click create module info.java. Make sure that's turned off. That is going to screw you over. We get a lot of questions on Piazza about, oh, my code won't compile. There's a compile time error and I can't understand it. That is because of this being checked. You do not want module info.java checked ever. Right? And I'm assuming you guys can see the IDE, right? And then here, yeah, we just have our basic source folder and nothing in it. That's all fine. We just want to make sure that's not checked. Click finish. And our project appears over here. So in our Hello World project, we can go into source. Source is the folder which contains all of our .java files. So in our source folder, we're able to right-click it and create a new class. That'll create our new .java file. And I'm just going to call it name is hello, and it's going to have just nothing really generated. You can generate a main if you want, but you don't have to. All of these things you'll learn later on in the course, but you don't really need to see it. Public is what we usually want. And click finish. So right now we have this is a project which contains source. It has no package, so it's considered the default package, and it's got a Java class called hello.java. Right, that's pretty good. So if you want to create a package, let's say that this is kind of like our weekly exercises. We can go new package, not project. I want a package. New package, and let's call our package, let's say week 1. Right, and then we'll just drag our hello.java into week 1. And now this is in its package. And we'll also create, let's say, a new package called week 2. Week 2. And in week 2, we could create a new class, and let's call it, let's say, world.java. And we have these various .java files organized into packages. This is how I do weekly exercises. The reason I do weekly exercises like this is, let's say I wrote a really good method inside of hello. To write a method, they have to be inside of a class. So in Python, or in Python, not the Python session, but I'll just say in Python, you can put your methods wherever you want. You can put one like out here outside of the class. Can't do that in Java. In Java, every method has to be inside of a class. So here I can put a method, let's say public, void, my method. And I'll make it static just to make it easier as well. I'll explain all those keywords in tutorials coming up, but right now we'll just take them for granted. This Java has a lot of these very verbose pieces of syntax that you don't know yet, but it's okay. They'll come up in tutorials and they'll come up later. And this method will just print line something. So system.out.println hello. Right? It's a very beautiful method, and I want to access it in the next week. What could we do if the method could return a bool or an int? Well, yeah, you just change void to bool or int, so we can do boolean, which is our version of bool in Java, or int works as well. But I'm just going to do void to make our life really easy. This is a simple demonstration of packages, methods, and classes. Here we can do another one. I'm just going to call it a protected static void my method 2, and this one will system.out.println world. Right? Pretty simple stuff. But now if I call my main, if I create a main, now Java programs always run from this method. It's very specific. It's a public static void main string array args. Is there a shortcut to make text smaller or larger in Eclipse? Tried CMD plus and didn't work. I don't think Eclipse has any good scaling options. I mean, it looks like it's scaling to high DPI right now, but it doesn't really have the option that I know of to change this stays in the editor. For that, recommend IntelliJ, more modern user interface. It's going to help you out with that, and I can show you how to do that in there. So here I can do my method, just run that, and then I can run my method 2.
Hello, I have a quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
Hi. So basically what I want to ask is instead of putting void and okay, let's just pretend that the method will return an integer if it for one condition and a Boolean value for another condition. So it could return either an integer or a Boolean value. What would you put instead of void?
You see, that is a challenging thing in Java because in Java we don't actually have any way to do multiple return types. I understand in Python there is a way to do that. In Java, you would have to hack it. You'd have to return something of type object and then go from there. But generally, Java methods return one specific kind of variable. You can come to the Python session. I'm assuming you're coming from Python because I know that that's a bit of a difference in the syntax. So in the Python session, I'll go more over that. That's tomorrow. But for now, just know that you can only do one. So here, if I want to run my main, I right-click on it here, and I just do run as Java application. And then this will run in Eclipse, and both methods will output their stuff. So we get hello and world. Return an array list of values you want. You could, but again, you have to do some things with typing. So here, hello world prints out, right? Makes sense to everybody. So now this is where packages come in. So if I make another main in the second package, static void main string args, boom, boom. And I try to do the same thing. So I say my method. Well, it's not going to work because you have to import it from the other package. So here it's going to say it doesn't exist. So if now I put import week1 dot star, that just means everything from week 1. Now I can access my method, or I should be able to. Well, actually, I should also have to put hello dot my method, right? Now it can print. But protected is different because protected means you can only access it from the same package. So if I try to do hello.myMethod2, it doesn't even show up. It's not in the list of methods. And that's because, well, my method2 is protected. It cannot be accessed outside of the class. Or, I mean, not outside of the class, outside of the, it's not even protected. That's just no modifier. If we just put no modifier, it can't be accessed outside of the class. If we put protected, it also can't be. Protected means only the inheritors of the class can access it. So if it's protected, I'll just put that briefly. So protected / private / no modifier not visible from outside the package. Right, that makes sense. And then if we do, protected, private, no modifier, modifier, can't even type, modifier, not visible from outside package, but if it is public, it is visible. Protected means only the inheritors, and we'll go into the differences. This is more advanced. We'll go into them later on. This will be covered probably next week or even later on in the tutorials. It's more advanced. It's beyond the scope of today. But basically, these access modifiers will help you define where and when you can access your stuff. What you need to know is that if it's inside of a package, the only way you can access it is if it's public. So if I type public here, then everybody can see it, and outside of the package, voila, it works. If I remove public, it's package private now. It's not going to be visible. System, right? And otherwise, yes. So can you put string instead of string array? You cannot, and that's just because of the syntax of the main method. All right, so that's just the basics of that kind of organization. And now we're going to switch over to IntelliJ to continue the thing. In IntelliJ, you get this screen when you start off. Can you access code from a different project to another, or only one in the same project? Yes, you can only access code from the same project. That's the point of projects. If I create a new project here, which I was going to demonstrate in IntelliJ, but I can demonstrate here too. If I create a new Java project outside of Hello World, we're going to call it new proj. All right, and we just create a basic project, create sure module info. It's going to be a bad project. I should have not made this. This is bad. We're just going to delete that. We don't want module info. Never want module info. But now, if I make something in new proj, I will not be able to access anything from Hello World. And that can be a good thing because if you're working on multiple assignments, you don't want to access things between your assignments. You only want to access the things of the current assignment. Otherwise, you might get bad grades because you might have accidentally used something from a previous assignment that you shouldn't be using now. And we'll just call it like whatever, right? This one has a main string args. And this one cannot access things from Hello World. So if I try to do at the top here, import hello, it's not going to know what the heck I mean. Or import week 1. Yeah, it doesn't know what the heck I mean by week 1. New project for assignment. I can't import week 1, so I can't access anything from there. That's the point of projects, to kind of give you a separation, a barrier, something that doesn't let you access things between each other. Now, moving on from Eclipse, we can try to do the same thing in IntelliJ. In IntelliJ, when you create a project, just create new project. You can move files between projects because they are just folders, but I'll show you that more when we get into IntelliJ. So in IntelliJ, you click new project, you're faced with this screen. Now this screen may look big and complicated, but it's not too intimidating. All of these things don't matter. The only one you want is this simple Java. That's the one you care about, that's the one you want to see. You don't want to check any boxes. Later on, if you want to do stuff on your own time, you can play with these, but for now, we just want a Java project. Nothing else, no libraries, no templates, nothing, and we're just going to call it hello world, finish. Now this is going to give us a Java project in IntelliJ, which is going to get prepared and load. And in our project, we have a similar view to Eclipse, where we have all our various stuff. It just takes a second to load because it's creating our project. We got some tips, we don't care. In our Hello World project, we also have a source folder. There is no difference between OpenJDK15 and the SDK I'm using because OpenJDK15 is the one I'm using. Now I can go source, I can right click, and I can click, new Java class, just like before, and I can call it hello. Very simple, very nice. And that class hello should be generated shortly. I think it's still indexing, so it's taking a second. Yeah, we got our public class hello. And right now, we can't do anything with it, we can't run it. That's because we have no JDK. And that's being indexed. Once it indexes, the JDK will be done, and it can just do everything automatically for us. We can create a public static void main string args. And in our public static void main string args, we can put whatever we want. So system.out.println hello world. And now once this finishes indexing, we'll get the option to run it, and we'll get the option to do anything else we want with it. For now, it's just going to do nothing. But of course, once we index, we will be good to go. Why is hello file not in a package? Well, packages are not necessary. In Java, there's a default package, so if you have it outside of a package, it's in the package that you don't see. It's in the default package. In Eclipse, this is demonstrated by showing default package here like that in circle brackets. In IntelliJ, it's just in the folder there because that's how it looks like in the folder structure, and that's how it looks. Now, if I create a package, new package, we'll call it like assignment 1. We'll do an assignment example now. Assignment 1, and let's say assignment 1 is just to do hello world. We can just drag that into there. Move refactoring. Oh yeah, we have to wait for it to index to refactor it because it's automatically going to put the package declaration. But let's give it an explorer, open an explorer, and I'll show you what the actual folder structure looks like. So here, in the file explorer, come on, open in explorer. Sorry, in the virtual machine, so it's a little bit slow, but it will work. So here I've got my my folders. I've got idea projects, and I've got Eclipse workspace. These are two folders which contain projects. In Eclipse workspace, you can see I've got my two projects, hello world, and I've got new project. And in IntelliJ projects, I also have hello world, and it got its source folder, and here's its packages, and here are the .java files. It's all arranged in the exact same way as it looks. So once you create a project, you have to go to source and create a Java class. If you want to have a Java class, yes, that is indeed how it would work. So then, yeah, Eclipse workplace is similar. If you want to take an Eclipse project and open it in IntelliJ, all you have to do is click File, Open. And then you just go, your user, and then your Eclipse projects. And then let's say hello world. I want to open that. A new window. And now this Eclipse project will be open in IntelliJ as well. And it'll ask for a JDK, so we'll just automatically download a JDK, and there'll be no problem. So again, my cursor is gigantic because I'm on a virtual machine, and my actual window is a different size than this. And it's also easy to see, considered a feature. So here we can also set this up by getting a JDK. We'll just go to project structure up here. It's a little folder icon. JDK is 15, JDK 15 version 15.0.1, no problem, and that's just going to index as well. And once it's all done indexing, it shall run. I'm on a ridiculously slow virtual machine, so it's taking forever to index.
Hey, I have a small question.
Sure, what's up?
So I tried to use IntelliJ, and so I had like a few different packages, and there was like an error in one of them, and I tried to run like an other main method in another package, and like it wouldn't run because there was a like an error in like another package. Is there a way to like go around that?
You can comment out your error. Otherwise, IntelliJ won't let you run when you have errors, but neither will Eclipse, actually. If you have like a compile time error, let's say I put a compile time error in world. Let's just say, oh, there's already one here. I should not be able to run hello. So if I run as Java application, it should give me the error that something is wrong. Proceed, let's see. Does it work? It might actually not fail if it doesn't import, but it probably should.
Okay, because like when I use Eclipse, it doesn't fail, so that's why I was like, I thought there was a way to go around that in IntelliJ.
No, I don't believe there is. You're just going to have to make sure you comment out your errors or you don't have the errors. But as well, if you have an assignment and you're submitting it and your assignment has a compile time error anywhere in it, it is going to break and it's not going to be graded. So you probably want that to be the case. How do you make a package in IntelliJ? You right click in your source folder and you click new package. New package, and then it'll generate one. I already did, assignment 1, so I just drag hello into assignment 1. Click refactor, which is going to automatically put all of the package declarations in there. And if I want to run it, I just click the play button. And now I can show you guys a very quick intro of the like a tour of the IDE, and I'll give you a quick intro to some of the features that you're going to find really valuable in your time in COMP250. These are things that are going to be, yes, this is recorded. I'm going to go show you guys some features that are to do with writing your code and doing your project that are going to be very, very valuable during assignments. These are going to save you a ton of time. And this is just me, my quick, if you see nothing else, these are the time savers you need to see, super fast rundown of, well, what you got to know. So here goes. What we want to do is we want to, how do you run code in IntelliJ? Play button next to the class or play button next to the main method. Or you have the play button at the top, the various play buttons. So around here, we've got various buttons, and they all do valuable things, but I'll just go through the very quick rundown. File, this just has all the various stuff pertaining to your file. The important stuff here is project structure. Project structure is where you choose your JDK. If you don't like your JDK, you can click Add SDK, download JDK, and just choose whichever one you want. See, you've got all your various Java versions. There's no thinking involved. You just click one, and you download whichever version you like. So you can choose any type of JDK. I use OpenJDK 15, but you can use whatever you want. Sure, what's up?
For the assignments and evaluation, we're going to use which version?
You can use any version newer than 1.8. However, later on in the class, we do actually have some graphical testers which require Java 15. So if you want, you can use 1.8 starting now. But if you do want to use our graphical testers later on, Java 15 is what you'll want to use. But again, up to you. I see Karim has his hand up. You're welcome to ask your question as well.
Yeah, thank you. Since I came from ECSE 202, I think I have the older version of Java, and I use Windows. So I just go download a new JDK 15 from online?
That's correct, yes. You can do that from either online for Eclipse or in IntelliJ. You just do what I'm doing here. You go download JDK and you choose your version from the dropdown. Easy peasy. You can actually use the JDK that IntelliJ downloads in Eclipse, but it's a bit of a hassle, so it's probably not worth it. Right, so that's your JDK setup. That's the important stuff in project structure. Then all that kind of doesn't matter. Edit mostly doesn't matter either. View doesn't matter either unless you want to change your text size or something. Navigate doesn't matter. Code does matter. Here you can click generate and you can generate all sorts of valuable things that you'll see later throughout the course. It's going to save you a lot of time. So if I want to generate something, let's say I want to generate a constructor for hello. Well, you haven't seen constructors yet, but if you have fields and stuff, that will be very useful. My run button is grayed out. Did I do something wrong? It should tell you why your run button's grayed out. So maybe if you don't have a JDK, you might have to go download one. So again, to download a JDK, file, project structure, and then you just project SDK download. Then it should work. And you also have to properly format a main method. So to be able to run it, it has to be a public static void main string args. We have both IDEs. Which would you say you should use? IntelliJ. It's grayed out where, Albert? Yeah, you can help each other out in the chat there. Then analyze, not very useful right now. Refactor, not super useful either. Build is not super useful. Run is useful, and debug is very useful. So let's just go into debug right now. This is a very quick tour of the debugger, but the debugger is going to be extremely helpful. Here we can put, let's say, int number is equal to 5, or int num2 is equal to 10, system out dot print line, and I'm going to intentionally make a mistake here, so I'm going to say num2 plus number. Right? So now, if I run my code, I'm going to get an error. It's not going to fail to compile. It's not going to fail to do anything, right? You guys see, but I'm going to get a mistake where I don't actually have it behave the way I want. Does that make sense to everybody? And Rahul, I see your hand up. You're welcome to ask. You don't have to register for tutorials. Yes, Rahul?
Yeah, so just to confirm, so when we get the assignments on my courses, they contain like one .java file, right?
They may contain one or multiple.
One or more, yeah. So essentially, we just move those files into like a new project and then like a package. Okay.
I'll show you guys in a sec. I just want to show you the intro to the debugger, which will be very useful for you.
All right.
And then I'll get to that. So in the debugger, you have the ability to see how your code is running. So do you guys see how here I want to put the sum of 5 and 10, but instead of doing the sum in 5 and 10, I'm seeing that it's printing the word num2 and then the value of my second variable number. So you see how that's an issue, right? But let's pretend it's not immediately obvious why this is happening. To do that, or to figure out why, all we have to do is we have to click on the side next to, say, line number 6. And in Eclipse, you just double-click on there, but it's a much less nice interface. So on Eclipse, you would just double-click next to a line, and you get the dot as well. So you click there, and then you run. Instead of running it normally, you run with the bug icon, right? And then when you run with the bug icon, you can actually watch the code run line by line. You might have to allow access for it to do some more of its debugging magic. But in the debugger, notice how it's now frozen, and the line is highlighted in blue, and we can see what's going on. And we see the value of args is it's an empty array, and this is where we start getting into the interesting stuff. Here we have controls. We have step over, step into, force step into, and step out of. These let us walk through our lines, kind of like in Thani, if you remember using it in COMP250, to see what's going on in our code. So here we see that number is a variable of type int, which has a value of 5, which we see here down in our variables. And we see here that, num2 is being set correctly. It's a number of value 10, and we can like hover over it and see. And now if I hover over the variables in my code, I can see number is equal to 5, num2 isn't equal to 10. Num2 is a string which says num2, and that's why I'm getting my error. And I can see that very obviously using the debugger because I can see the values of all my variables as it runs. This will prove extremely useful for you guys in your time running your code. This is the single most useful tool for COMP250. It will save you many hours of work. And we'll go into it in detail later on in the course. We're working with all kinds of various weird cases and everything that's going to help you with your assignments. But right now, if you're going to take one thing away from this session, it is step into and step over and step out of as your methods. Or not as your method, but like as your tools to explain exactly what's going on in your code so you can fix your problems. Here I can see that this one is a string. How do we use console if we don't extend it? Sorry, I used ACM. That's a good question. So ACM is outdated and kind of weird, and its syntax doesn't have much to do with real Java. Here, we're not extending any subclass of ACM. In ACM, you have this like, console application, right? Instead here, all we're doing is we're creating our main method, and we're printing out to the system. So to put something in the console without ACM, all you have to do is system.out.println. If you want to get something from the console, you can say scanner s is equal to new scanner system.in, right? And this will allow you to have to import that. So I just option enter or alt enter will give me the option to import the class. So now I can I have my scanner, and now I can say string s is equal to scan s dot, or I guess string st is equal to s dot next line. Now this way I've got the user's input, so I can say number2 plus number plus st. And now if I rerun my program, let's say with the debugger, I can actually take my user's input. Just build that. Wait, was readInt an ACM method? Yes, it was, but here you can just do nextInt. Right, so you can do next whatever kind of thing you want. But I did next line for the next string. How do you run? Well, in IntelliJ, you right-click on your code and you click Run or Debug, or you click the play button, or you click the play button at the top. How do you get to the debugger? See the bug icon I'm hovering over right now? You click on that and you can get to the debugger. If you run in the debugger, then you pause at every line and you watch it run. And then you can use these buttons, step over, step into, for step into, to go through. So now, in this stage, it's going to ask for a string, right? So if I go to debug and I see the console, come on. Here I can type my message, so I'm just going to say, hi there, right? And that's going to be my message that the scanner is going to parse. So I'm just going to go, So my next line, st, was hi there, just as parsed. And if I hover over string st, you can see the value is hi there using the debugger. And we can see that the value of number is 5, the value of num2 is 10. Step over, step over. Now here we can see that st is hi there. Number one is 5 and number 2 is 10. So we can already predict what the output is going to be. It's going to be 10 plus 5, so 15, plus hi there. So it's going to be 15 hi there, right? Easy peasy. That's how it runs. Again, the debugger exists in Eclipse as well. If you want to use Eclipse, that's fine as well. But it's just not as intuitive to use. So you can click the bug icon in Eclipse, proceed with the launch, allow access. Come on. It's being a little bit crashy right now, but that's okay. And we'll switch perspectives. And in Eclipse, we have a kind of similar view where we got this little spreadsheet of variables, but we can't do any of the hovering things, and we can't see the values in line as easily. And here we can do the same step into and step over controls. So we go step over, and we can go step into to step inside of a method, same thing as in IntelliJ. And then we can see all our various values will be appearing here. So again, same debugging techniques apply in IntelliJ and Eclipse. It's just a bit more pretty in IntelliJ because you see all the things next to your variables, like it's all inline. It's just a little bit more clear to see. And that's going to help you out a little bit in your future assignments. Okay, now let's say hypothetically you get an assignment and you want to know how to deal with it. Let's say we just got assigned assignment 1 from a couple semesters ago. We've downloaded our .zip file. We've still got our IDE open from something else we were working on. So how do we get started? Here's how we start an assignment. We go File, not undo, we go File, New Project, and same thing in Eclipse. We just create a new project. So in Eclipse, I'll do the same thing. File, New Project, New Project, and we'll just do a Java project, and it's going to be called Assignment 1, and everything is the default. We're okay with that, but we do not want to moduleinfo.java. We hate moduleinfo.java. It's evil. So then we open that, we open the Java perspective, bam, we've got our Assignment 1 project on the start. IntelliJ, same thing, we just go Java, nothing checked off, Assignment 1. And we'll just open it in a new window. So here we've got an Assignment 1 project in both Eclipse and IntelliJ. Now what we have to do is we have to take our download, which is our zip file. This semester we might get Java files outside of zip files, but it's going to be the same idea. You're just going to have a folder with your stuff. So we've got our A1 folder here. Our A1's got a PDF and a package. You can do whatever you want with the PDF, but I'm just going to drag the whole folder right into Assignment 1, or right into source, ideally, actually. So right into source, I'm just going to drag that. Let me do that. If not, just open an Explorer. So open in Explorer. And we take A1, and we chuck that into source. And we don't have to worry about the PDF. The PDF won't screw anything up. But just for the sake of it, I'll put it into my Assignment 1 folder. And actually, IntelliJ has been putting things in Eclipse, or has put this in Eclipse Workspace, I think, because I gave them the same name. And that's actually convenient, because it shows that the project is actually carrying over between both IntelliJ and Eclipse. It is synchronized. So you can open it in both, and it appears in both. They both do the same thing. So here we can see, well, we only have a syntax tester right now, because this is what was given for this assignment. And here, well, you might have to do something, right? But no problem. We don't worry about what you actually do in the assignments right now. That's what's going to come up in future tutorials, future sessions. But this is how you set it up for the assignment. What is the .metadata file, and can we delete it? The .metadata file is just something to do with how your computer gives your file additional info. So it's a hidden file, and it probably has to do with when things were modified, when things were last accessed, that kind of stuff. And I would recommend you don't delete it, just so that, because I'm pretty sure your computer will recreate it right after you delete it anyways. It's so that you can keep track of all these various things, date modified, date created, all that valuable stuff. So here's how you get started with the assignment. Again, you have you've got your syntax tester here. You've got your syntax tester in Eclipse as well in your Assignment 1 project. Your Assignment 1 project is not visible to other stuff. You can run it by just right-clicking and clicking Run. Everything about the Assignment 1 project is quite simple, right? And then if you have a different thing you're working on, then you can open it up in your other project, and you don't see anything carrying over. Quick couple things about IntelliJ syntax as well, is that in IntelliJ you have the yellow, which means it's an error that's not a compile time error. So you have these things which are, they're kind of bad, they're not ideal, but they're not going to stop you from running. And the red are things that are so bad that you cannot run the code if they are there. So for example, here it's saying there's no package, so you can just accept their suggestion, and now it will compile, or it should compile. That's how the red and the yellow level warnings work. Yellow means it's not a big deal. You can do whatever you want with them, and it'll still run. Red means it's so bad it won't even compile. Eclipse doesn't, well, Eclipse has like a similar warning level system, but it's just not shown in quite the same way. But again, if you have a red underline, like a red stroke underline, let's say I call this package something else, it's going to give us a red stroke underline. That means we cannot do anything, right? We can't run it, we can't do anything until we fix it. And if it gives us a yellow level error, which are, I think, relatively uncommon in Eclipse, it will not let you run. Here, yellow level errors in IntelliJ tell you things that are not ideal. An example of something not ideal is if in hello world, I try to iterate over an iterable data type with a regular for loop, which all sounds like nonsense to you. In fact, I won't even show it. I think it's a little bit advanced for now. But that's maybe an example of something that would be considered a yellow level error. Now in IntelliJ, there's a couple more useful buttons similar to Eclipse. You've got version control, which is useful if you want to use GitHub to manage your projects. I might do an optional session on that later on, because GitHub can be very helpful to make you not lose your work and keep up to date on what you're working on. Then in Eclipse, we have all the similar options. In Eclipse, if you want to change your project settings, you go File, and then Properties. And that doesn't do much. No, you have to go File, and then you have to do Properties in the right place. So it's got to be on your project, like Assignment 1, Properties. And then here, you can change a lot of your various settings. The important ones here would be your JDK version. Is there a difference between IntelliJ and IntelliJ Education? Is one better than the other? You should be using IntelliJ Community or IntelliJ Ultimate. IntelliJ Education, it has a lot of features for courses which are written to only use IntelliJ, which we are not. So you'll find IntelliJ Education has a lot of features that are not relevant. You should be using IntelliJ Community Edition or IntelliJ Ultimate if you want to use IntelliJ. And there's only one version of Eclipse, Eclipse Java. That's the one you want to use for Eclipse. How do you delete a project you created in IntelliJ? If you want to delete a project, you can go probably project structure and delete should be an option, but I usually just delete from the file explorer. Let's see if there's a nice and proper way to do it. No, I don't think there is. Okay. Well, I usually do it by doing this. I go into my project, I right-click it, I open in Explorer, and I right-click it, and I delete it. Right now, it might be confusing because right now we are in Eclipse projects, but that's just because I set my IntelliJ to look in Eclipse projects, so we can use the same IDE for both. All right, are there any useful key combinations? In IntelliJ, it's double tap shift, and you can search for anything you want. So let's say I want to know what 10 plus 10 is. It gives me 20. If I want to search for syntax tester, yeah, it'll search eventually. Again, a very slow virtual machine, so it's not going to do everything instantly. It'll be faster on your computer. But here we've got all our various stuff, and we got all our various settings. So if I want to change dark theme, if I want to like blind myself or something, then I can search for dark, and that should be option. No, just theme. Right, and then here I can change my theme in the quick search. I don't have to look for it. I don't have to look through the menus. I just do a quick search for it, and then here I can do something terrible like IntelliJ Lite, and then that will blind me forever. A syntax tester is just, it was part of Assignment 1 2 semesters ago. You don't have to worry about it. It's just a tester we gave out for Assignment 1 a couple semesters ago to help you guys test your code and make sure it's good before submission. It's not relevant. Yeah, I know. Sorry about your eyes, guys. Went to the light theme there. But now in the meantime, I'll just quickly show you on the Mac. Similar stuff. All the same things apply on the Mac. It's completely cross-platform identical. On the Mac, you install using Homebrew, and it's all the same. If you have any questions regarding that, I'll be happy to answer. Now, are we able to intuitively finish the extra problems, or is it normal to have a look at the solutions to finish? I'm new to programming and I always look and see how other people solve the problems. It's pretty normal to see what other people do, especially if you're learning the syntax. Nobody expects you to learn the syntax all on your own. Obviously, you're going to want to look around and see what people are doing. You could find it helpful maybe to come to the tutorials next week, where I'm probably going to be doing some very intro level stuff. Next week I'll be doing actual Java introduction. Less so now is just kind of getting your tech set up and getting your IDE working. Hopefully by the end of today, everybody who's here will be able to confidently have Eclipse or IntelliJ running, and will confidently have their project set up the way they want. That's the goal of these sessions. But once we actually get to next week and get to the official tutorials, we'll get into Java and stuff. I'm aiming to have tutorials be on Tuesdays and Fridays, but the dates haven't been finalized yet because we have to make sure it doesn't overlap with too many things. Like, we don't want to overlap with COMP250. We don't want to overlap with Math 240. Would you say we need the tutorials if we've worked with C before? If you want to get into Java and make sure you're good for everything, the first week could be useful, but usually the first week is kind of very introductory, and it's good for people who are coming from Comp 202. ECSE 202 the first week might bore you, but for weeks after that, it's probably worth coming to because it's going to be stuff you haven't seen before and stuff that's quite different from C. Starting from the second week, we're going to be doing stuff like object-oriented programming, which you will have not seen as a C programmer unless you got quite advanced with C++. And is it every week or just random? Tutorials will be happening every week at a scheduled time and day. That day and time will be released to you guys as soon as we possibly can. Is Math 240 a prerequisite for this course? It's not required to do it at the same time. You can totally get through all of COMP250 not doing a single thing of Math 240, and you can finish COMP250 without knowing absolutely anything. Is Visual Basic considered object-oriented programming? That would depend on how you use it. I'm not actually too familiar with Visual Basic, so I'm not too sure. But assuming it's kind of like a dumbed-down version of C#, I would assume it is, because I know it's for GUIs and stuff. It's like Microsoft JavaScript, is my understanding of it. I know it's like probably object-oriented. Where is the recording going to be posted? My courses, and it's a folder called tutorials. Now, how hard is Comp 250 without Math 240? Comp 250 is not hard without Math 240. You do not need Math 240 for the course. There's going to be a little bit of math in theory, but you only need to know some high school level math like logs. You probably want to know sums, but you don't absolutely need to. It's not going to be super intense. If you got through Math 133 or Math 140, you'll be just fine in Comp 250. It's nothing really past that kind of content. I mean, there's some stuff outside of it, but it's nothing too hard. If you have Math 141, you're totally set for the sums and everything. You'll be okay. Math 240 is not that required. Now, will we have proofs in the quizzes? You will not have proofs. You might have some theoretical questions, but you won't have proofs in the quizzes. You won't have anything so formal. The quizzes are multiple choice. Did it create a package when you created A1? It did, yes. In Eclipse, I only see Java 14 on a Mac. Can I change this? It's not a big deal. Java 14 is fine. Define theoretical questions, please. I will. In fact, I can give you an example of what you could expect to see on a quiz. So on a quiz, it's kind of like, it'd be a question like this. You'd say, I'll do this in Notepad so that we can have only the finest text editing experience. We'll say, quiz question. Example. You have a linked list, singly linked, which we'll see pretty soon. Linked with 15 items in it. How many objects does this create? All right, that's an example of a quiz question. You have multiple choice, so you'll have like, maybe 15, 17, 16, 35, right? You'll have like these various multiple choice answers. That's an example of these questions. And the person who says 16, it depends on how you implement your linked list. You could have a null-based linked list where you have the head being null, in which case you would actually have probably more objects than you expect, because you also have the linked list object itself. So you have an object called linked list, which will contain its nodes, and then you'd have a head object, and then all the member objects, or you would have no head object and all the member objects. So it can either be 16 or 17 depending on how you implement it, but we'll get into the details on this later on in the course. Most people haven't even seen linked list yet, so if you know what a linked list is, you're ahead of the game. That's just an example of what a quiz question would look like. An example of what an assignment would look like would be you are given a bunch of .java files and a PDF, and you have to modify the Java files to work. And if you have any more questions, you're welcome to hop on the mic and do anything you'd like, any questions at all related to course or whatever else you have. All right, and if you guys are coming from COMP202, I recommend getting started off tomorrow with our Intro to Java for Python Developers. That's going to be a lot more Java-like. I found that's going to be a lot more Java syntax, and it's going to help you a lot with switching from Python. So if you're coming from COMP202, that's the place to be. I found practice questions were very different than quiz questions in COMP202. Is there any place to get questions more like the quiz? Well, the quiz questions, we don't have a set plan for it, but I will probably be covering quiz questions during the tutorial, or not quiz questions, but I'll try to work with the TA who writes the quizzes in order to have some very similar ones to what's on the quiz be debuted at tutorials. So we'll have a session separate from tutorials, like a kind of walk-in quiz solutions session, where we go over the solutions for the quiz from the previous week. And either during that session or the tutorials, I'll try my best to get my hands on some quiz questions early and to create this similar to quiz questions style questions, which can be shown off there as well as how they're solved, so you guys can always have an idea of what's coming up and the content you'll be seeing on the next quizzes. Otherwise, weekly exercises should help you a lot with quizzes. And just keeping up with the theory and the content from the lectures and applying what you see in the lectures, you should be all set to ace the quizzes with that. And of course, I'll try my best to incorporate quizzes into the tutorials and into the office hour segment that I'm doing, which will hopefully give you guys a better idea of what's going on with those. What are we expected to hand in for assignments? You're expected to hand in the .java files that we gave you, but modified to be what you want. How do you see your project files from IntelliJ and Finder on a Mac? I will show you that right now. The theory is the same. Your projects don't actually, they're not tied to either IDE. You can open an Eclipse project in IntelliJ, or you can open an IntelliJ project in Eclipse. It makes absolutely no difference. And let me just see. I just want to make sure I don't dox myself with solutions or something in the IntelliJ window. Are you using a Mac or a PC? I'm using a PC, and I have got a virtual remote desktop connection to a Mac and a virtual machine for my Windows. So I've got IntelliJ opening right now on my Mac. Just going to close down my projects to make sure I don't give away solutions and stuff I'm not allowed to give away. And I'll show you what I shall show you shortly. Perfect. It's actually just opening a tutorial project from last semester. So I guess you guys will see that. Close that. Okay. So here we are on the Mac. You guys can all see the Mac, right? On a Mac, I've got my .java files and stuff. It's all indexing, it's loading because I haven't opened this in a while. But you right click where your folder is and you click open in, Finder, and then you just get your project open right there. This will load one day. And here in my Finder, I've got this, this thing right here. What is your secret to good camera quality? I attached my actual camera to my computer and used a capture card to record it. Here I've got my .java files and all that in macOS. So you just right click, same as Windows, and you open in Finder. The Mac and the Windows version of these softwares is almost identical. In fact, it actually is identical. So if there is anything that you're doing on Windows or on Mac, it's going to be the exact same. On IntelliJ on Windows, you just right click, open in Explorer, and on Mac, you just right click, open in Finder. It's almost the exact same. So you don't need to worry about who is using what. You can just do everything the same on Windows and Mac. The only differences are in the installation. So here, open in Finder, it's again almost identical to Windows, where it's just right click and open in Explorer. So you guys can see that side by side. It's the same interface. So don't worry if you're on a Mac or Windows. These tutorials will probably mostly be on Windows. It doesn't make any difference. It's the exact same on the Mac. And yeah. Hopefully, if you guys are remaining, you're wondering if there's questions. Is it like a DSLR? Yeah, I'm using a camera like a DSLR. If there's any more questions, I'm happy to answer. If any of you guys need any help with your setup, our goal is to get you guys fully set up and ready by the end of today to get ready with COMP250 and start developing. When you see the assignments, we'll have to make the code work. Do you mean we'll be fixing broken code or writing a substantial amount of our own code? That's a fantastic question. Where in your assignments, you will be writing methods in. So for example, you will be given, so let's say, Google search as your main project, and we've written a lot of our stuff for you. So we might write like a test where we give you a bunch of websites and you search through them all the files. You would have to write the algorithm which then sorts them maybe, and you'd have to write the algorithm which compares different search results to see which one is more popular. but you wouldn't actually write the whole thing. So we give you a lot of the basis of our application, which has maybe some more advanced content you haven't seen yet. So we might give you a GUI, we might give you some kind of test system, we might give you some very fancy advanced code, or we might just give you some simple code. We might give you just something that makes the project work. So it would be boring if you guys just wrote a sorting algorithm. But it would be cool if you wrote a sorting algorithm and that sorting algorithm let you rank search results, kind of like a Google search, right? So what you do is you write like part of the algorithm and we write most of the software, and then you're able to watch as your algorithm is applied in a practical way. That's kind of the format of the assignments. So some assignments you might write more of it, some you might write less of it. And in fact, you are actually encouraged and asked basically to go above and beyond if you want to, and create your own testers and your own demonstrations and everything. And that will be fun. Do we need to JavaDoc our assignments? You do not need to JavaDoc your assignments. You do not need to comment your assignments. No human being will read your assignment code. It is graded by robots. That doesn't mean you can plagiarize or whatever. We still run all the same plagiarism checks. We run all this, but it's all automated. We have a class of 700. There's no way we could read all your code. So you can swear at us in your comments. You can insult us in your comments. And the only time we might see that is if we randomly look at it for no reason. You can do whatever you want in your comments or do none at all for your own benefit. I still recommend commenting your code so you know what's going on, but we don't care. In Eclipse, can I switch Java versions? Yes, you absolutely can. Let me show you. So in Eclipse, let's see, we have our preferences in here. It's probably project level, so we'll do assignment 1, properties, Java build path, and then here we've got our, where is it here? Java code, Java compiler. We've got all our various stuff here for it, but I think Java build path is what we need. And here we can just change our JARE library. Give me a second, actually. I'm going to find the proper way. I don't know if this is actually the exact correct way. Configure. No, properties, no. Yeah, I don't use Eclipse much, so give me a second. Last time I did this was in ECSE 202. It's going to be probably under settings. Builders, resource, Java editor, Java compiler. No. Java build path. No, I'm pretty sure it's in your build path. You change it. That would make sense to me. But here I only have one JDK. So for me, it's only one. Whereas if you have multiple, you could probably change it in your build path. That might not be completely correct. I can get back to you on that if you'd like. Or you can post on Piazza and I can help you there. Sorry, I'm just blanking on my Eclipse thing. I haven't used it in ages. But not debugging code. Just use IntelliJ for the first time is so much better than Eclipse. Glad you like it. In which course do we learn to write the rest of the software? You can learn that on your own, or if you're in ECSE 223 and 321 will give you a lot of that insight. And you can learn it on your own. It's not that you can't do it, it's just that we can't give you an assignment that big. I thought I had everything installed right, but now I'm a bit confused. I'm not sure I have everything. Is there a way to check we have all the right options? You don't need to install a lot. All you need is 3 things: Eclipse, IntelliJ, and JDK. Or more accurately, you only need one of 2 options. You either need just IntelliJ or Eclipse and JDK 15. Those are your 2 options. IntelliJ only, and then that will automatically manage your JDK. Or you manually install JDK 15 and have Eclipse. Those are your workflows. There's not a lot to install. So you should be fine. Are we allowed to use any syntax that's found in Java docs? In COMP250, we're a limited set of syntax. You can use any syntax you want that is not imported. So if you import a class, import, say, array list, you can't do that. But if you import nothing and you just use weird syntax, that's okay. So you can use enhanced for loops, you can use regular for loops. Hell, if you wanted to, you can write like an entire graph in private methods and you'd be fine. You can do whatever you want. You just can't import anything. It has to be your own code. That's the only stipulation. Now, somebody asked about my favorite Hamilton song. Now, that's a very hard question, and I know it's a very important one. I say 10 Dual Commandments is very good. 10 Dual Commandments is like a top-notch song, but I can't really pick one. You know, it's a hard thing to pick. That can be long debated, and maybe somebody can write an algorithm which can determine which one is the objective best one. If you can do that, then I'll be very impressed. But yeah, hopefully that addresses most of your questions for COMP250. We can't import Java utility array lists and stuff like that. No, you cannot add any imports. Nothing at all. You can't import array list, you can't import linked list, you can't import anything. The reason for that is that this is the course where you learn how to write that kind of stuff. So here is where you learn array lists, and here is where you learn linked lists, and here's where you learn all that stuff. So it would kind of defeat the point if you could import it. Later on in the course, when we get all that stuff done, so about to the second half, you'll start seeing imports, and it's going to get to a bit more of an advanced level where you will be able to import stuff, but you won't be able to add it yourself. We will pre-do all the imports for you, so you will have access to what you need. Now, I was going to, at the start of the session, play a quick clip for you guys about what to expect from COMP250, but since my audio setup wasn't working, I couldn't do that. So I'll just send you guys a link to that, bestofcomp.com. You might have seen it in your original announcements. I recommend you see the video at the top and see the top projects. These are the projects that some students made in the course that were really impressive, where somebody, let's say, made a GUI where we didn't give you one, or somebody made a game out of something we wrote. Like we would give a code for like a tower defense game, and somebody actually made the game from it. Stuff like that. The people who went really above and beyond, and they were put on that website to demo it, and we did a video clip, like a compilation of all the best stuff. So I really recommend you guys try to get on that. Try going above and beyond, making testers for other people. You can help your classmates out by writing testers that will ensure that they do well. You can do all kinds of stuff. You don't get extra credit like grades, but you will get a lot of recognition. And a lot of our team mentors, actually I think all of our team mentors are people who were on bestofcomp.com. They were people who went above and beyond. So you will see there is great opportunity to be had from doing that. What are testers? Well, you know how I said everything in the course is graded automatically? No human beings grade your assignments. It's all graded by robots. So the testers are what actually does your grading. But you see, if you're very clever, you can think, if a robot is doing my grading, why don't I write my own grading robot and see how well I do, right? That's what student testers are. It means students, like a student or a group of students, might work together to create a tester which they believe is the most robust possible tester. Like if it can get through this, it can get through anything. And if they do a good job at doing that, then their tester might even be better than ours, and they might guarantee themselves 100. But of course, it's not easy to write a tester. So that's kind of the, that's how you go above and beyond in COMP250. You can do the whole assignment, but you don't know if it's good or bad, because we don't give you the full tester. But if you write your own tester, and you have the opportunity to do whatever you want. Your own testers, free for all. You can do whatever you want in your own testers, as long as you don't give away solutions. It's all up to you. And if you write a good tester, again, that means that you and your friends get good grades, and it's good for you guys. That's a tester. The people who made the best testers are the ones who actually ended up being our team mentors this semester, so there's good incentive to do that. Not all of them, of course, just the couple of our top ones are usually the ones who end up being chosen for that kind of thing, because they're the ones who show that they're really going above and beyond. That's just my little note, and bestofcomp.com is where you can get some inspiration and see what other people in past classes did. Yeah, if there's any more questions, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll be ending the session shortly, and I'll see whoever of you guys feel like learning about Python on tomorrow's session, where we introduce Java concepts from the perspective of a Python developer. So I will be doing things like comparing Python syntax to Java syntax and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, again, last call for questions. Anything else? Otherwise, the stream will be going down shortly. Does a VM help with privacy? Well, the reason I'm using my VM is so that I can have nothing installed, because on my big desktop, I've got IntelliJ and I've got Eclipse and I've got everything, but I've got like hundreds of projects and so much stuff going on, and if I just deleted it, I would lose so much work and so much time. I can't afford to delete my IDEs. So to show you guys how to install stuff, I will do it on a VM so that I have a fresh start and that everything is clear for you guys, because I doubt you would appreciate like a 500 project IntelliJ with like 500 plugins and everything weird. That would be quite confusing for a first timer. So for that reason, I'm using a VM. It's not for any other reasons. And of course, enjoy your day, guys. I will be posting details on the tutorial setup coming up later on in the course. That will be starting next week, and the exact days and times will be posted soon. Those will be very valuable if you are getting started in Java right now. And later on in the course, they'll be very valuable because they will reveal they'll give you hints on the quiz kind of thing, what kind of stuff is coming up in the quiz, the topics we're covering, and some similar questions to what will be there, and other stuff that will really help you guys in your studying. So yeah, farewell and enjoy.